time ago. Because there are some proofs on your test, I would like to go over this. Knowing that your entire next test is just 5 proofs. The whole test, 5 proofs. There's actually 6, but you get to pick the 5 you want to do. And you guys know what you're doing. You have the right stuff in the right spots. You're just not confident with it. This is not on your review, but this does tie in with stuff on your review. So here's what we have right now. GH, or G is parallel to H. You know for a fact that this line and this line are parallel. So statement 1, G is parallel to H. Why is that true? Given. Angle 1 is congruent to angle 3.
Corresponding angles.
When you have a set of parallel lines, corresponding angles are congruent. Correct? So this statement is true because those lines are parallel. They are identified as corresponding angles. Angle 1 and angle 2 are congruent. It is also given. Okay, so right now you've just identified everything that you've seen. Now, student conclusions start. Why are 2 and 3 equal to each other? Or
transitive property.
So you want to say alternate exterior angles, right?
Yes.
But that's not true because you don't know if P and R are parallel.
Yeah.
But you can use the transitive property, which says 2 is congruent to 1 and 1 is congruent to 3, so 2 is congruent to 3. It kind of skips the middleman. Transitive property of angle congruence, or just transitive property is good enough for me. Okay, so why are P and R parallel?
I never know this was alternate exterior angles.
Now this one goes backwards. Because alternate exterior angles are congruent, it proves the lines are parallel.
Oh.
So we said if lines are parallel, alternate exterior angles are congruent. And we also said if alternate exterior angles are congruent, then lines are parallel. So it's really the converse of alternate exterior angles, but I'll take that. All right, so it's just this one step is using that transitive property. And you also had something look like this. This was also on your test. Don't mind the coffee stain on the bottom that I tried to erase with the contrast filter. Q is parallel to R. That would be this line and this line are parallel. P and T are parallel. Hashtag math. This line and this line are parallel. Why is P parallel to T? Given. So P and T are the purple lines, right? No, the green lines. So why are 1 and 2 congruent?
Alternate exterior angles.
They are alternate exterior angles across parallel lines. They are defined as congruent. Alternate exterior angles. Why is Q and R parallel, the purple lines?
Given.
Also given. Why are 2 and 3 parallel?
Corresponding.
Because they are corresponding angles across parallel lines. That is also true. So that's 4 steps of identification and then 1 step of student conclusions.
Transitive.
Again, right? 1 is congruent to 2, 2 is congruent to 3. The transitive property says that 1 is congruent to 3. The transitive property of angle congruence. Not bad. Your next test is going to be all of that, right? All the statements will be given. You just have to generate the reasons. So this brings us into the review portion of the test. I will do as much or as little as you'd like me to do. That's student guided. Where do you want to go and what do you want to look at? All of it.
Yeah, please.
We start on the front.
So number 4 would be the first question.
Greens.
It says number 4, identify a singular pair of alternate exterior angles. Oh, okay, 3 and 6.
Alternate interior.
Alternate interior angles. 3 and 6 would be alternate interior angles. That talks about this line, and this transversal. It's very confusing because there are a boatload of lines. That is not the only answer.
2 and 7.
2 and 7 would also be correct. That's this transversal with this line and this line. It's crazy. You have to like turn your head, or realistically, you guys could turn your paper because I can't turn the board. I could, but I'm not going to. What else? Are we good on alternate exterior angles?
It's interior.
Alternate interior, same side interior angles. 5 and 8's a good one.
Oh yeah, got one. That's it.
I don't see anything else. Please do not write 2 and 6
So it's dividing it in half.
because 6 is not the whole angle. Corresponding angles are a boatload of those.
4 and 1.
4 and 1, yes. 5 and 1, yes.
2 and 5.
2 and 5, yes.
2 and 4.
2 and 4, yes.
Oh my god.
A lot of them, right? It just says 1. 1 is good enough for me. Hey, number 7, alternate exterior angles.
7 and 1.
1 and 7. That's better. 8 and 4, no. The 4 is inside the line, so it's not an exterior part. Section 1, you're going to have five questions that deal with that. But it looks like this.
Thank you.
One and only one pitcher. 5 questions. That section's worth 20 points.
Oh.
They're 4 points apiece.
I'm
Are you okay with that? If not, you have a foldable you could look at, or you could get on the old Google and Google it yourself, or you could watch this video. So many options. All right, find the value of x and y in the diagram. That's the best I could do. I know it's a tiny picture. Is that somewhere near where we're at?
Yeah.
Okay, so you have 2 parallel lines. I would probably start with x right here.
Yeah.
Because it's a definitional mathematics question.
118 degrees.
Right, x equals 118. And because of corresponding angles, you don't need this part on your test, but it's good to write it, just so you know. And then y is a little more mathematically involved, but not terrible.
Minus 25 from 118. Whatever we get.
So realistically, this angle is y and 25 together.
And it equals. Or no, wait, and then you add 118 to equal.
And this angle, so if I add this piece, and the 118 piece, I would conclude that they're all a linear pair, a set of angles that form a line.
I think I said that wrong.
Math it together.
I said that so wrong. Y equals 37. Still got it.
So you get 37. I probably would have moved like the vertical angle down here and found that linear pair,
Oh, no.
which would be 62. And then I would have said 62 equals y plus 25. There's so many different ways to do it. I don't care. I only care about it as it is the right answer. Holistically. There is This is a sneaky question because I'm not going to ask you to graph a line in point slope form. Really what I'm after is, do you know what slope is and can you identify the coordinate? Did anybody have trouble with this one or try it?
Yeah, I got it.
Confused a little bit? So in this one, your slope is right here. That comes from this equation, the point slope form. So your slope is -1/2. And you have a point. It says that the y coordinate is -2, but it really means +2. And it says the x coordinate's +3, but it really means -3. So you plot the point, -1, -2, -3, up 2. And then you apply slope, down 1, over 2. A line something like that. Okay, if you need a straight edge, you should have your ID on, and you can use your ID to draw that straight line. Does that clear it up for anybody that was a little confused? No, you still don't like
Okay,
it?
so what I did was like I simplified it, so I got negative 1/2 x minus 1.5, and then oh, okay. See, I just did math wrong.
Then you should have added 2.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I subtracted 2.
And you should have got a y-intercept of +0.5.
Yeah.
So, right, in your life, and especially in Algebra 2, the difference between adding and subtracting could ruin a whole problem.
Yeah.
If you don't believe me, ask the kids taking Algebra 2 right now. It happens a lot, doesn't it? Things are flipping back and forth between positive and negative, and you have to keep track of your signs. Use the given information to decide which lines, if any, are parallel. So we have 1 and 9 are congruent. Does it prove any lines are parallel?
N and P.
Right? This would prove factually that N and P are parallel. N is parallel to P. If 3 and 6 add up to 180, does that prove any lines are parallel?
No.
No, right? Proving a linear pair equals 180 does not prove any parallel lines. If 2 and 3 add up to 180, does it prove that lines are parallel?
Yes. L and M.
It proves that L is parallel to M. And if 5 and 11 are congruent, does that prove anything?
N and P are parallel.
It proves N is parallel to P because you have a set of congruent alternate interior angles. Do you want to know the answers to that?
I gave up.
So, the most important thing in spherical geometry triangles equal
More than 180.
greater than 180. Right? S spherical, something more than 180. Euclidean E equal to 180. Not equal to 180, neither. Okay? How many times do 2 lines cross in spherical geometry?
Twice.
2 times.
Dose.
That's all you need. I'm not going to do anything else.
Okay.
Alright? I didn't catch that before I printed it. We can talk about it though. A line contains at least 2 points.
Euclidean.
That's a Euclidean geometry deal. I would argue that would also be spherical geometry, but go with it. If 2 lines intersect, they intersect at exactly 1 point.
Euclidean.
It's also Euclidean geometry. If 2 sides of a triangle are congruent, then the angles opposite of those 2 sides are congruent.
Spherical. Because it's 90 degree. I thought of it as like a 90.
If 2 sides of a triangle are congruent, then the angles opposite those sides are congruent.
I don't know. I just kind of.
Call that the old isosceles triangle.
Yeah.
Right, an isosceles triangle, base angles are congruent. In spherical geometry, not necessarily. We won't cover that until probably 3 weeks from now. So that is Euclidean.
Oh, it's Euclidean. Psych.
Why is the equator a line in spherical geometry?
Because it goes all the way around.
I don't know, yes.
Circumference.
Circumference. It's a great circle.
Nailed it.
The actual book definition is it's a great circle. It is the circumference of the world.
The circumference.
Number 8, there should be instructions that I missed. Find the value of the variable that makes.
Find the value of each variable.
Oh, so the lines aren't notated as parallel, so find the value of the variable that's true. In this scenario, equal or supplementary?
Equal.
Equal. So I'm asking you to math. Alright, the geometric concept here is those are equal. Do you want to go through the steps?
45 equals x.
We have an x equals 45. Subtract x from both sides. Because it is minus 30, it is our job to add 30 to both sides. It'd always be a good idea to do this thing called checking your work. 45 plus 15 is 60, and 90 minus 30 is 60, so it does work. Same thing here, equal or supplementary,
Equal. Supplementary. Same side.
right? It's tricking you. Homeboy is hanging out down here, but the arrow is pointing up here, so they should be supplementary. I'm gonna guess that was 3x.
4x minus 68 equals 180.
Whoa, is that a plus or a minus?
That is a minus sign.
What about here?
Minus.
Okay, so 3x minus 44 and plus x minus 24 should all be equivalent to 180. Combine like terms,
4x minus 68.
negative 44 minus 24 or negative 44 plus 24 would be negative 68 equals 180. Add 68 to both sides.
4x equals 248. X equals 62.
X equals 62. 62 minus 24 is 38,
Maybe.
maybe.
Oh,
Yes.
so you would put
You don't have to, but it would be wise to. And then,
I got you.
what? Oh yeah, 62 times 3 is 186. 186 minus 44.
Is nowhere near the right answer. No. Oh wait, no, they'd add. So yeah, you're right. I was thinking.
186 minus 44 is always 142. So
142
concept
plus
checking.
38. equals
This
180.
angle is 38. That angle is 142. They do make 180. Hooray, mathematics. Yay, man. Oh, goodness.
I did not like this one.
Yeah, this one looks nasty numbers.
Alright.
So, 2 steps, right? We only have one set of parallel lines. So you can only work up and down the transversals. You cannot go left and right. What do you know about this angle and this angle?
Alternate exterior angles.
They're
which means
equivalent.
congruent. Are equivalent. Whatever. Which way? This way? Okay.
Subtract 3x from both sides.
Wait, 30, 12.
12's not really a nasty number.
Wait, it's 34.
It's 34, not 21.
Sorry, my pen must have missed that.
Now it's 17.
Still not a nasty number. Just a prime number. That's on the brink of adulthood, 17. Okay? The same thing for y. What is the definition that holds true about 3y minus 35 and 2y?
Corresponding.
They're corresponding.
angles.
They are equivalent to each other. I'm about to upset some people.
See, that's what made me mad. I didn't know what to do.
Why both by -1?
Or you
I
just put a
prefer
plus
multiplying both sides by -1. It's the same thing as dividing by -1. I prefer doing this. Nailed it.
Yeah, I did.
I did the same thing to both sides. It is mathematically equivalent.
Nailed it.
35 is also not a bad number. So it's a nasty picture. The math isn't crazy if you can identify the difference between 34 and 24. Good thing you caught it, otherwise I would have had the right.
What does it say about like this? Hey, turn this to like 30.
Alright, here we go into the old triangle world. Anybody have try or struggle with this one? Yeah.
Oh, I can't find one.
I got it. I understood this. Kind of.
So you cannot solve for y first. It's mathematically impossible to solve for y first. You have to use a definition and solve for x first. Those two things should add up to 180. X plus x minus 28 equals 180. Add 28 to both sides. Divide both sides by 2. So you have x equals 104. And I'm assuming it's going to be 76 on the inside.
Yes.
So then,
Now I have 3 angles I can solve for in a triangle. There is always 180 degrees in a triangle. So add all the angles you have together. 2y minus 1 and y and 76 should all add up to 180. I don't know, I just like doing it. 3y plus 75.
Minus 75.
Subtract 75 from both sides.
The magical number of 1. And you get a total of that number.
35. So y is 35. It's just adding 2y minus 1, y, and positive 76. Right? So if you try and start solving for y, you're going to get like a multivariable equation that you're not going to be able to solve.
Another thing you could have done was instead of like going through all of what am I trying to say? Going through all of that, like equaling up to 180, you could have just done because like 2 opposite angles equal like the outside angle. So you could have done plus y equals 1 over 4.
Right, that is the definition of the exterior angle. So you could have used y, but you still would have had to solve for x first.
Well, yeah, I solved for x first.
It still works.
Writing all the information is very. Yeah.
The same math is there.
Less work.
It's only less work if you know it exists. That's when we did the, like tearing our triangles apart activity. Find the value of x that makes those parallel. So if those are going to be parallel, they have to be equal or supplementary.
Equal.
Equal. They have to be equivalent. That one.
135.
Here we go. Here we go.
Give it. I give it up.
Don't give up. L is parallel to M. That's all I know. Y is, 2 and 4 are congruent. That's all I know. Y is L parallel to M.
Given.
Y is 1 congruent to 2.
Corresponding.
Are they corresponding across parallel lines?
Yeah. Yes.
Yes, they are. So that is a true statement, corresponding. 2 is congruent to 4.
Given.
Given in the problem. 1 is congruent to 4.
Transitive property.
Corresponding will not work here because the black lines are not parallel.
Yeah.
But 1 goes to 2, 2 goes to 4, so 1 goes to 4.
Yay.
Transitive property of angle congruent. So just transitive property is good enough for me.
Yeah.
Why are N and P parallel?
Corresponding
Because
angles.
corresponding angles are congruent, it forces lines to be parallel. Alright, it's just practice. Are you feeling a little more confident with that?
Yeah.
If it's this easy, yes.
I'm not gonna try and trip you up. That's pretty much exactly what you see on your test. Maybe, I don't know.
You just brought it up.
Oh man. I know I had one question about this yesterday. Anybody else get to this?
Yes, I got the first one.
Skipped over. This is on your test, so I don't want you to freak out. Okay, it takes sentences of math and asks you to apply geometric concepts to it. The ratio of the angle measures of an acute, the ratio of the angle measures of the acute angles in a right triangle is 1 to 2.
So I drew the right triangle. That's as far as I know the answer.
Right?
90
This is 90, and I don't know what this is. The
Yeah.
acute angle.
or that one. Yeah.
Less than 9.
It's less than 90, so the ratio is 1 to 2, correct?
Yeah.
Acute angles to right angles should be equal to the acute angle to the right angle.
Oh, so then it's 45.
So you can probably reason that it's 45 degrees,
Yeah. It's
but
180.
mathematically I just proved it. That's the old cross multiply trick.
Hey.
1 times 90 is 90. X times 2 is 2x. Does 45 work there for x?
Yes. Magic.
The measure of one angle of a triangle is 40. The
Yeah.
measure of the other two angles is a ratio of 3 to 4.
You lost me on this one. Big triangle. Oh. I don't like
These have a ratio of 3 to 4. But I don't know what. Yeah, like, yeah. I mean,
So then it's 140 is equal to 7x.
Duh.
40 plus 7x equals 180.
I don't like this.
So this one's 60 and this one's 80. Do they have a ratio of 3 to 4?
Yes.
They're killing it. Alright, on your test it's going to say they have a ratio of like 4, 6, and 8. On your test it say they have a ratio of 4, 6, and 8. So I would encourage you to draw a triangle with. That's the ratio. Once you see it, you're like, duh.
18
Like you've never seen it before, you're like, huh.
Oh, x equals 10.
Maybe. I don't know. I just made some stuff up. Yeah, x is 10. Nailed it.
Nailed it.
Cool. Moving on. More triangle math.
I don't like it. Yeah.
Do we need more help on this or can we move on? Yes, we got it.
Yes.
We need help. So you can start with two definitions. Those add up to 180.
Two x equals 50.
That's one definition you can use. So you know this angle is 50 now. And you have to have x for the test, but you know the angle's 50, and then 50, 54, and 4y all add up to 180. And you could solve that one.
4y equals 76. Y equals 9. Yeah, what he said. Yeah, you're right.
54 plus 4y. You could use the exterior angle sum, the two remote interior angles, add up to the value of the exterior angle. A lot of different ways to do that. Just straight up triangle math. Pretty much two concepts. The inside of the triangle is 180, or the exterior angle and that one interior angle are 180. Pretty much 180, you can't go wrong. Talked about that one. We've talked about that one. Slope. We having any issues with slope?
Wait, okay, so point, slope, point. What is that again? Like, the y minus. Alright, cool. Got it. I thought about it, and I thought that was it. And I don't know.
So I like point slope form for some things, but not all things. You do have to calculate slope. Y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. I get concerned there because you're like subtracting negative numbers. And
Oh, yeah,
sometimes
I
you can't
got it.
subtract so great.
It's not that one.
So that's your slope, and you pick a point.
And if
Y
we plug it in-
minus y1 equals the slope that you just created. X minus x1. And you go on from there. Okay, I'm gonna cut this short because